Got one. That was a long cast to get that guy in. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Monster Bass channel. My name is Jeremy Francis with Fishing the Lonestar, and today we are talking topwater baits. In particular, we're talking walking baits. Walking baits are so much fun to throw. A lot of awesome success can be had with them, whether it be in a pond or a lake, especially this time of year. But we're gonna provide a couple of tips and tricks. We're gonna provide some tips and tricks today to throwing these baits and lures in local lakes and ponds to hopefully help you hook up on more bass. All right, the Patriot 2.0 recently came in the August box, the August topwater box, and I love this paint and color scheme. They came in my Regional Pro box. Kind of a bluegill shad color, pretty awesome. And then also in a recent box was the Hedon Spook Jr., another awesome little topwater spook style bait. What's key to both of these is kind of the techniques you're using, the equipment you're using, the retrieval, and really how do you get the most out of this bait from a walk the dog perspective. We're going to talk about all that kind of in a two-part video. I'm going to break all the technical stuff down here, and then we're going to head out to some local water and hopefully hook up with some fish, and I'll show you the retrieval aspect out on the water. First, let's dig in though to the equipment that you need to use to have success with these baits. First and foremost, I want to highlight the rod. Now, this particular rod that I'm using, you'll see the TFO, and I'll show you right here, it is a 610 topwater rod. It's also a moderate rod, which means the action has a lot of give and bend to it. You'll see that bend right here. And the reason why it's important is because you're throwing a bait with double treble hooks. You want there to be a little bit of give when you go to set the hook, otherwise you're literally going to rip the fish's mouth and rip this bait right out of it. I know you hear the saying ripping lips, but if you're not careful with these style baits, you literally will rip them right out of the fish's mouth. So having the right rod, and I'll talk about why 610 matters, but having the right action rod, moderate, really helps. Now, it being 610 and a 6'10" rod, a little bit shorter rod, I normally probably fish with a 7 to 7.3 foot rod on most applications, but being a 6'10" rod, it gives you a little bit more maneuverability with the rod to be able to twitch it and work it the way you need to with the rod tip to give it action to really walk. We'll highlight that in a little bit when we get out on the water. The reel I'm using here is a Lew's LFS. I've upgraded to the wind knobs, wind grip knobs, but this is just a Lew's LFS reel. It's actually a 7:5 to 1 gear ratio. The speed though of the reel does not really matter too much because you're working this bait with the rod, not with the reel. Again, we'll talk about it on the water. And then last, the line. The line that I'm using here is a copolymer or a monofilament line, and the reason why is because this line floats as opposed to fluorocarbon that sinks. And again, if you have a topwater application, sorry, my line's all cut up here, my bait. But the reason why you don't want fluorocarbon is because if you're throwing a topwater bait, fluorocarbon, that line sinks. And also, braid will float, but braid's probably not forgiving enough for this type of presentation. So what's helpful with monofilament or copolymer is A, it floats, and B, it gives a little bit. So that's gonna help you not only with setting the hook, but keeping that fish pinned as you reel them in and get them in to the bank or to the boat, whichever it is that you're fishing. All right, that's the technical stuff. What you probably wanna see though is this lure in action because it walks like a dream. So does the Hedon Spook that came in a previous Monster Bass box, but the one we're gonna throw today is going to be this one here. So let's head out to a local pond and see if we can catch some fish. And at the very least, I'll show you how you should work your rod and retrieve to get optimal movement and walking the dog with a bait like this. Let's hit the water. All right, so here's a really good spot to target with a bait like this. You'll see the submerged grass right here. There's likely fish holding off the edge of it, bass that are hitting either shad or bluegill swimming up here. So I'm going to cast it out and retrieve, cast past it and retrieve over it. And I'll show you as I'm retrieving it what my rod action looks like to get this to walk the dog. So once my bait lands, I'm obviously engage the reel. And then you'll notice that in order to get it to walk the dog, watch my rod tip, I'm giving it twitches with the rod tip, and in between the twitch is when I'm making the reel the slack. So twitch, reel, twitch, reel, twitch, reel. And then once you get a nice motion going and a good rhythm going, then your bait walks behind it really well. So watch as that bait gets a little bit closer, you'll see it just gliding from side to side, which is exactly that walk the dog motion that you want. I'll kind of pause it right there over some of that grass. Another thing too you want to do with your rod is vary your cadence. So sometimes if you go slower twitches, you'll get a really erratic movement side to side, and or faster twitches, you get more of a quicker movement. So it just kind of depends on what the fish are wanting at your local water. So you kind of want to vary it up. So see right now I'm getting bigger side to side sweeps with a little bit slower twitches, or I can pick it up some and get quicker rod switches. So let's get closer. I'll show you guys again. I'm twitching my rod, and in between the twitches is when I'm twitch, reel, twitch, reel, twitch, reel, twitch, reel, twitch, reel. So that I'm reeling in the slack as I'm popping slack in my line. I'm reeling it in between each pop of the rod. And that's what creates that back and forth movement. Is a back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. And you'll notice in between each one, that's when I'm doing my reel. What I love about the Patriot 2.0 though is it's got enough weight to it that I can make a long bombing cast and cover a lot of water, especially in a pond like this. I can cover a lot of water quickly. What I'm seeing right now is the bass are roaming, chasing balls of bait. So I'm able to cover ground and hopefully find where those groups of fish are. So another helpful tip, guys, in your retrieve is don't be afraid as you're walking the dog to then just pause it. And sometimes what you'll find is bass will be following and trailing it, and when you pause it, it allows them to almost kind of catch up, and they really don't even have a choice. It almost kind of hits them in the face. So sometimes they don't have a choice but to hit it then when you do that. Got one. That was a long cast to get that guy in. And there you have it, guys. Good bass. Caught him right there in that bottom hook. Out there chasing bait fish. One more tip while you're throwing a lure like this that's treble hooks is always carry pliers to be able to pop them out. All right, guys, hope those tips helped for using the Patriot 2.0 by Monster Bass, a great new addition to the Monster Bass lineup and in my recent box. Hope these were helpful tips. Please comment below. Let us know if you're catching some fish on the Patriot 2.0, what your favorite topwater lure is, because the topwater box was insane. And make sure you like and subscribe to the Monster Bass channel. Hop over to Fishing The Lonestar, my channel as well. Again, my name is Jeremy. Subscribe there. We'd love to see you over there. Both channels provide some excellent tips and tricks, so be sure to subscribe below on the Monster Bass channel for more great videos like this coming your way.